Good morning, everybody. Phil here at Woods Tree Farm. I got an early start out here this morning. I hooked up the tiller on the tractor before the sun was even up. So kind of proud of myself for that, for getting out here, making the 30-minute drive out to the farm, getting out here before the sun and getting an early start. So right now it's about 7:30. The sun's up, the sky is full of light at this point. And what I've already done is started to till a little bit of these rows where we had trees planted in the spring of this year, but through the drought of this summer they died. So what you'll see behind me and behind the tractor are rows that I have tilled, and you'll see spaces occasionally in those rows where there's still a live tree. So it's going to be a busy weekend here out on the farm. We got 300 new seedlings that arrived in it's 100 each of 3 different varieties. So we'll have those planted this weekend, and then next weekend or the following weekend, we'll see when they get here, there should be another shipment of 200 more seedlings. So it's going to be a busy weekend out here. I've also got the electrician coming here shortly to give me a quote on running the wiring in the shed. And you know, once that's all done, then we can get the electric company to come out and do the hookup and all that stuff. So pretty exciting out here. We got a lot going on. So I've got about 30 more minutes before the electrician comes. I'm going to run the tiller around a little bit more. I've got a couple areas here where there are some gaps in between the trees. So I'm going to till those, and then further down the hill I've got some other rows where I'm going to be putting some of the pine seedlings and some of the fir seedlings that I still need to run through with the tiller. So follow along, let's go have a little fun. Here we go. Well, I got the tilling all done. I'm sure you can hear the old blue tractor in the background making a bunch of noise. What I'm going to do next is go back over these rows with the subsoiler. I did some of that in a previous video. I'll run a little bit of that clip right now. Subsoiling gets breaks up the clay layer that's down at least 12 to 18 inches deep. This subsoiler actually go as deep as 22 inches, though for the most part I don't think I'm really going that deep. But the idea there is to break up the clay layer. That does 2 things. It'll let the soil drain better in times of heavy rain, and it will also hopefully make it easier for the roots to grow deep with that clay layer all broken up. So what I'm going to do now is go back over these rows with the subsoiler again, and I'm going to try to shift over to one side or the other of this area where I've tilled, and hoping that that rips a second, I was going to call it a trench, it's not a trench, but hoping to rip a second row, if you want to call it that, in the clay layer just to break it up even further. I really don't know if this step matters, but my thought is that the more I can break up that clay layer, the more of a chance that we're going to get for these roots to grow deep. So I'm going to go back over these rows with the subsoiler. I've got about 30 minutes. I should be able to hit all these rows, and then I got to run out of here for a little while, and that's going to do it for soil prep. round 2 of the subsoiling's now done. Went through all of the rows, and what I'm gonna have to do is come back over these rows again with the tiller, because there are a bunch of areas like this one right up here, I'll show you in a second, where the subsoiler was able to get down into some fresh clay that it hadn't broken up before, and it raises these big chunks of clay up to the surface, and I want to break all that up. Here's an example of what that looks like. You see this nice clean tilled row, and then you look right down here, and there are these massive chunks of clay, you know, bigger than my hand, that the subsoiler brought up to the surface. So to go back over this row with the tiller, we'll break all that up. It'll also mix the clay with topsoil, I hope, and keep that soil nice and soft over the next year or two while these trees are really trying to grow their root systems. So there are a number of areas like that where a bunch of clay, fresh new chunks of clay, here's another one, got brought up to the surface. Is that a rock or is that clay? No, that's clay. So something like that, which is, you know, I'm still not convinced that's not a rock. It's been so dry. Yeah, see that? That's just a big chunk of clay that got brought up to the surface by the subsoiler. So I think that was really worth it to go ahead and spend that extra 30 minutes to go back over these rows with the subsoiler for a second time. There's another big chunk. All throughout here, there are just big chunks of clay that need to get broken up. So I need to run home, run my kid to a soccer game, and then after that, we'll be back out here, tilling again and planting some trees. All right, well, I gotta say, what the big time YouTubers out there are up to right now with the Team Tree effort for 20 million trees by 2020 is pretty awesome. So wanted to bring that to your attention. Obviously, I don't have a big following like they do, but maybe a few of you guys out there haven't seen what they're up to yet. It is pretty remarkable that they are trying to raise $20 million in order to plant 20 million trees by 2020. And it's all in an effort to kind of raise awareness for the environment and to drive action to a real solution that will help the environment. So if you don't know, Mark Roper has a really good video. I'll put a link down in the description to that video, highlighting why trees are awesome and why we need more of them right now, more than any other time in human history. So there is just an explosion of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, unprecedented any time in the millennia. So this is not fake news. It's measured, it's calculated, and this is something that needs a solution. Trees are part of that solution. So wanted to bring that to your attention. Check out the Team Tree effort and consider donating $1 or $2 or $20 or $50 or $100. Each dollar you donate plants a tree, according to the Arbor Day Foundation. So go check it out. And we're back. It's now middle afternoon. Did you miss me? Doubt it. So I'm just gonna run the tiller real quick, and we're gonna start with planting some Norway spruces. So I'm just gonna do 2 or 3 rows with the tiller real quick, and then we'll start putting the spruces in the ground. Here we go. The tilling's all done, at least for the first several rows. So we're gonna get everything ready to start planting, and we're gonna start putting some of the spruce trees in the ground. What I have here in this bag is the dry mix for a planting gel. I'm going to talk more about that in my next video. I'm going to compare planting these plug seedlings versus the bare root seedlings that we're going to get in another week or two. So this planting gel, you just mix it up with water. We've actually never used this before, but we've heard that it helps. And I can't get this bag open with gloves. All right, so this stuff is just going to go in. I already pre-measured this out so that it's just enough for 1 gallon of water. I've got a gallon of water here, so we're going to put it in there. Hudson, try to find us a good clean stick, okay? Yeah, go ahead and just stir that up a little bit. Yeah. And then within 15 or 20 minutes or so, it should turn into a goo.
That's weird.
That is weird.
No, it can itch my arm.
What? Itch your arm?
Yeah, there's an itch right.
Okay. So what we'll do, once we have a goo, we'll split it out into 2 buckets, and then we can have 2 groups of people planting at the same time. Okay, I just moved over here in the shade because it's really sunny and it's actually a little warm today in the mid-70s, and I don't want these tree seedlings sitting out in the sun. But as I started to unbox these, I had to laugh because as new Christmas tree growers, we're not super familiar with all the species, and it's actually kind of hard to tell which trees are which. We've got 3 different species inside this box, and you know, you look at these and they look like little Christmas trees. I don't know. These are different, noticeably different. Okay, they've got finer needles. These have fatter needles. These trees are taller. These are shorter. They're technically they're supposed to be about the same age, but just different species grow at different rates, and you can see, even though they're the same age, they're different heights. So then we can go off of we can look at the needles, we can look at the color, we can go off the scent. And I started to second guess myself here on which are which, but I know which are now. These are our Concolor Firs, and I know that because of the way the bud break for the next year, the way that those look, and the way that the needles are shaped. And then if I crush these needles and smell them, they actually have a citrusy scent and not a pine scent. So these are definitely our Concolor Firs, and I know where those are going to go. We're going to plant those second. These are my Norway Spruces. They have the finest needles and like the highest needle density on the branch. They have a light pine scent. It's not a super strong scent like some of the other fir trees. And then my last trees in here, we're going to plant the Norway Spruces first, but I'm going to show you these other trees. My last trees in here are my Canaan Firs, or Canaan Firs as some people say. And these, I know that's what they are because like the Fraser fir and like the Korean fir, the underside of the needles on these trees is a more silvery color. I don't know if that'll pick up on there, but slightly more silvery color on the underside of the needles. And if I crush these needles and smell them, this smells like your traditional Christmas tree scent. It's a very strong fir smell. And as soon as I open this box, this is all I could smell. These are so strong. So if you really like the strong fir scent, or the strong Christmas tree scent in your home, get a fir tree, a Fraser fir, a Canaan fir, or a Korean fir. There's a few other varieties, but these are going to be the ones with the strongest scent. This is our tool of the day. This is a planting bar, so we're going to use these to push them into the ground, wedge open a hole, put our plug inside. And this is the first time I've planted the plug trees, so this should be pretty easy. There's not a large root system to worry about with these, so we really just need a hole that's like 4 or 5 inches deep enough for the plug. There are ladybugs everywhere out here today. So we just need a hole that's big enough for the plug plus an inch or so. We also have, I actually didn't even open up yet, we also have fertilizer tablets that we're going to put in the hole with each tree. And you don't necessarily want the fertilizer tablets directly on the roots. You want the roots to grow into the fertilizer over time. So what we'll do is dig a hole with a planting bar several inches deeper than what we really need. These are my little tablets, little 10-gram tablets. So we'll dig a hole that's a few inches deeper than what we really need. We'll put the tablet in the bottom, we'll put some dirt on top of that, we'll put the plug in, and then we'll fill our hole and we'll move on to the next one. And we should be able to get a good pace. Planting gel is starting to set up. Let's see if you can see in there. Just looks like brown liquid on camera, I'm sure, but it is gooey. You can see it maybe sticking to the stick. So what we'll do is dip each tree in this goo, and the idea behind that is that it'll help keep the roots moist while they're setting in the first day. We're also expecting rain overnight tonight, so the moisture component's not a huge deal for us, but it has nutrients and bacteria or enzymes or something I frankly don't even know, but it has something in there that's beneficial for the roots. So so that's why we're using it. We didn't use it with any of our first plantings, and we want better success with this next round. So we're kind of doing we're doing several things different. We're doing the subsoiling, which we didn't do before. We have the root dip, which we didn't do before. We have the fertilizer tablets, which we didn't do before. We had only done previously broadcast fertilizer over the entire field. And I think all that really did was made the grass grow like crazy in the early spring. So I'm gonna quit talking and go get to work, because we only got about 4 hours out here today, and I want to make sure we get as many of these trees in the ground as possible. So here we go. Hudson! All right, so here's the process. We are going to put one tree here. The tiller, this is an area that the subsoiler didn't really get very well, so this ground's a little bit harder, but Hudson just pulled out one of the trees. Yeah, go run up close, show them that. So the roots are only, you know, a little bit longer than my fingers. So that's as deep as we need. We just need to cover up the top of this plug with soil. So we are going to grab a little fertilizer tablet. Look at these yellow jackets out here foraging, looking for food. Probably looking for some bugs or some larvae or something. But, give me a fertilizer tablet, and then you can dunk it in the gel and then put it in the hole, okay?
Yeah. It's not getting.
That's good. Just a quick dunk and then go.
It wasn't getting all the way down.
We might need to tilt the bucket then.
Okay.
All right. So I'm just gonna hold just above the plug right here at the surface of the soil, so I know where I need to go. And then I'm going to pack soil in all around it. And once there's soil right on top of the plug, I'm just going to press firmly all around it, and it's ready to go. Okay?
Can I take the stick out?
Yeah. Alright, so another one will go here. That's about 6 feet away. 6 feet's good, right? So that's 2 long steps for me. 1, 2, 6 feet. Right there. All right, so I got tablet, you got the goo. So do you think we should maybe, to be efficient, should we bring the bucket closer to the seeds? So,
yeah.
I mean not the seeds, it's closer to the trees so you don't have to walk all around?
Yeah.
All right, cool, let's do that.
I'll just bring one bucket.
Well, we're gonna move down there to the next spot, okay?
That's why I have one down there, so I can just pick it up.
All right then.
Hey guys, so it's about 5 o'clock on Saturday, and so far we've planted 200 trees. Woo! We have the spruces planted, and we also have the concolors planted, and we're working on the canaans. We're hoping to knock it out because it's gonna rain tomorrow and a couple more times hopefully this week. So it's perfect planting weather. It's about 72 degrees and sunny, so hopefully we'll get this done today and relax tomorrow. One thing that we have found is the plugs are super easy to plant compared to just like open root systems. And the kids have actually been able to help a little bit more than last time. We do have fertilizer pellets, and so when we dig a hole, Hudson would dig a hole, Caroline would put the fertilizer pellet in, and then we would come behind and plant. Once we got a system going, it's been really great. And if you can't see behind me, the trees here are changing, and it's just gorgeous. So I kind of like planting in the fall. Maybe we'll keep it up.